Today is rainy and dreary, just like we're on the Yorkshire moors. So let's dress like a little German girl and review Wuthering Heights, book versus movie. Where's Jacob Elordi when you need him? 3 changes I didn't like. Whitewashing Heathcliff. We don't know Heathcliff's origins, but it's pretty obvious in the book that he is not white. He's called a dark-skinned gypsy and a little Lascar at various points, leading many scholars to assume that he's got South Asian or Romany heritage. His non-white appearance comes up often enough in the book that it does not make sense to me to cast the character as white. His othering sets up a really important plot point. After making his fortune, the outcast returns and wreaks generational havoc on everyone who wronged and degraded him for being different, including the other white servants. Significantly aging up the main characters. This just didn't work for me, especially for Kathy. The Romeo and Juliet of it all works for teenagers. In the book, the main characters are 15-ish when Heathcliff leaves and 18-ish when he comes back. Passion, petulance, and poor communication skills make sense for horny teenagers from different social classes who couldn't be together. It does not make sense for fully grown adults who could have just had a conversation and made reasonable choices. It is perhaps slightly romantic for a man in his late 20s to go seek his fortune and return to shoot his shot with the woman he loves. It is not romantic for a 30-something woman to lose all control of her emotions and have a mental breakdown over this man. We would not be okay with our friends of a certain age acting like this, but we love to see it on screen. Finally, the depictions of sex. Y'all, this movie is sexy as hell. My heights were wuthered. We started the movie with a hanged man's boner, and that is not a euphemism. We sighed when Heathcliff shielded Kathy's eyes from the rain with his big man hands. This is a sexy movie about a very unsexy book. Kathy and Heathcliff never consummate their relationship, and the only sex in the book is either boring and unwanted or violent and abusive. The biggest movie swing was making Isabella a willing sub. I love the emphasis on consent and the wink to kink, but Heathcliff's psychotic treatment of Isabella in the book is a critical plot point that helps drive the second half of the novel. The part most adaptations on film won't deal with because it dials up the monstrosity to 11. 2 takeaways about this adaptation. First, is this even an adaptation? I love Emerald Fennell and I enjoyed this beautiful fever dream of a film, but the quotation marks around the title are doing a lot of heavy lifting. She has explained her movie represents how she envisioned the book when she read it as a teenager. That's fine, and creatives will often alter inspirational works to suit a new format or to put their spin on it, but adaptations generally stay truer to the heart of the source material. I would argue that the significant changes in this one pushed this version into authorized fanfic territory. There are connections to the source material, but the direction is guided much more by the story Fennell imagined than what was on the page. If you changed the characters' names in Wuthering Heights, I'm not sure you'd even know for sure that this was Wuthering Heights. Takeaway, this is not the greatest love story ever told. Y'all, it might be the greatest untherapized children trauma bond to the point of unhealthy obsession story ever told. We all like different things. These kids grow up together and form a genuine attachment to each other. And they certainly love each other in some way. That way is not healthy, but I would not imply that it's not real for them. Because they cannot be together, or really because Kathy chooses money and societal status over Heathcliff, this leads to emotional violence, physical abuse, social vengeance, and literal death and destruction spanning at least 2 generations. Bronte did not write a love story. She wrote a gothic tragedy, and no amount of candy-colored costuming or high cheekbone yearning will change that. Finally, one winner. Okay, so after all of my nitpicking, the movie still wins for me. It is a sumptuous feast of panoramic views, completely inaccurate but effective design choices, and consensual smut. Watching beautiful people in beautiful costumes and beautiful landscapes carrying on a torrid affair is very diverting. Fennell's loose grip on the source material makes it more palatable. Instead of teenagers running on impulse and ruining lives in the process, we have two adults making informed choices and ruining lives in the process. Instead of 30-ish years of obsession and psychosis culminating in necrophilia, we get a decade of obsession that ends in socially acceptable physical contact with a corpse. Instead of Heathcliff marrying a naive and innocent Isabella, savagely abusing her and hanging her dog, we get Heathcliff explicitly seeking consent and Isabella gleefully playing her role as a sub in a dog collar. Speaking of Isabella, this movie would win for me based solely on actress Alison Oliver's soliloquy on Romeo and Juliet and her unbridled passion for ribbons. She was delightful as Isabella and turned a tragic character into a scenery-chewing foil for Kathy. So there you have it. While the changes didn't work for me as an adaptation, the movie still has my vote. Thanks for watching. See you next time.